After losing to 13-year-old FM Arthur der Winter in round 4 of the Groningen Open, in round 5 I was paired against another 13-year-old player, this time significantly lower rated, 1800 rated player Pal Rohan from England. Would I be able to bounce back from my loss? Would I be able to overcome my difficulties when playing lower rated and much younger opponents? Let's find out in this video. So before I get to the actual game, I would like to give you some context and talk about my mood and mindset going into this game. The previous round 4 was played on Christmas Eve, and after I lost, we decided to go to Mike's family to celebrate Christmas with them. Now, of course, Groningen is like 4 hours train journey to where Mike's parents live, so it is quite far away. So it would have been natural also to have a rest day on 26th. And there were 3 groups in the Groningen tournament, A, B, and C. And I was playing the A group. And the A group was the only one that didn't have the possibility to have half a point, to take a bye and then not to be paired, but still receive half a point for that. It was possible in B and C, and it is quite a standard practice in chess tournaments. I thought it would make a lot of sense to do so over the Christmas, but for some reason it wasn't possible for A group, and I already did discuss that and complain about that with the organizers. Hopefully that will change in one of the next editions. Furthermore, you know, I'm not the person who reacts to the losses very, very badly. So after I lost and when I realized that I have to, go back and carry my agony for one more extra day, it was not very joyful, neither for me nor for my girlfriend. And last but not the least, I was really, really not happy with my pairings for this game, because, as I said, this was an A group of the tournament, and nominally it was only supposed to be 2000 plus rated players. Now, the organizers mentioned that they can make a few exceptions, and my opponent was one of those exceptions, but I'm really not sure, I'm not a fan of these omissions, when these exceptions, when they are when the rating is so much lower than the highest supposed rating to the group. Now it was very difficult for me to avoid the feeling that I'm going onto a game where I can only lose and where I don't have that many things to win, which is once again a very, very wrong mindset. I mean, we should all care about game and not the rating, but when you are playing a tournament that's above certain rating, then there are certain, let's say, expectations that you have, and I really think the organizer shouldn't put people who are 200 or something like that below the mark into these tournaments. With that being said, let's take a look at what happened in the game. Before the game, I checked some of my opponent's games, although that was also a little bit tricky because he didn't have that many games in the database. I did notice that he was like 1950 like 2 or 3 months ago, and then he lost like 130 rating points in some youth competition, so that added extra nervousness to me, because I thought, okay, I don't know, maybe he's a little bit underrated or whatever. So in my preparation, I noticed that he plays some sharp Sicilians, and I really didn't want to go into something sharp or messy, which you will see throughout the game. I even went too far and maybe was too extreme in that attitude, in that need to try to keep in control. So for the first time in my life, I decided to play the kata 1, which arises after d4, knight f6, knight f3, d5, g3, e6, bishop g2, bishop e7. So I have had some experience with this online, but I have never played it over the board. And the reason I went for this is because after castle, c4, c6, I saw that he plays these setups with like these closed kata 1 structures with c6. And I thought that this would lead to a little bit more positional maneuvering battle, where I would have chances of outplaying him, especially since I prepared this move knight to c3, which was recommended by Narayanan Srinath in his great course, Lifetime Repertoires Kata 1 on Chessable. So I did check it, and I did have some preparation. And after knight c3, b6, knight e5, bishop a6, the reason I went for this one is because I saw that he had a few games where he played bishop b7, and after e4, knight b to d7, there is this very nice trick, knight c6, bishop c6, d takes e4, attacking the bishop, and e d5, c d5, the bishop has to go back because there are no squares on this diagonal, they are covered by the knight, and when the bishop goes back, you play d6, and you attack both bishops, and if he takes on g2, you take on d6, and you hit the queen with the intermezzo, so queen e7, king g2, and you are winning opponents, white, which is, and probably you're objectively winning already. At least clearly better. So after some thought, after 3 minutes, he went for bishop a6, which is actually the best move and the main move, attacking the c4 pawn and developing the bishop on a more active diagonal. And here I was still in my prep, I played rook e1, and now the main line is of course taking the pawn with either the bishop or the pawn. Both are playable, but both require some knowledge from both sides. And here he thought for like 15 minutes and decided to go for queen to c8, which makes some sense. You are protecting the c6 pawn and hoping to develop, but the queen will be too exposed on this c file, so that's not a particularly good move. So I played cd5 to open up things a little bit, try to open the c file. And here he played cd5. If he plays knight d5, then e4, knight c4, b3, and this is very passive for black. I have a massive center and I have a good knight, although this is maybe better than what happened in the game. And also if e5, you just play bishop f4 or even e4 already and try to open up this diagonal, and black will almost always have some problems here, so this is pretty good for white too. cd5 is more standard way of recapturing, trying to keep the symmetry. But now the problem is that after bishop to g5, my play is very easy. I'm pressuring the f6 knight, I'm planning to play e4, and I'm planning to play rook c1 to harass the queen. And here my opponent went wrong even further. There he played h6. Apparently either queen d8, trying to reinforce this knight and step away from the c file was better, but why would you move the queen back now? Also bishop b7 is probably a bit more resilient, trying to add some control over this square, although again e4 I think is just pretty good here for white. And there are even stuff like d4, knight e4, bishop e4, rook to e4, like stuff like that. So yeah, and eventually you get d5. So this is a pretty tough position for black already. I don't think this opening with queen c8 is particularly good. And here after h6 it just went from bad to worse, because after bishop f6 now it's already bad. Although I didn't expect my opponent's next move. So he played bishop to f6 and I played e4. And sorry, this is what I expected, bishop f6 e4, and I thought this is pretty good for me. Or even knight g4 and then e4, or rook c1 even, just improving the pieces. But he took with the g pawn, and I was like, that can't work, right? Like these are too many weaknesses. So I played knight g4, and I was playing quite fast. I had like 120 minutes on the clock, my opponent had like 56 minutes. And here he played f5, which I thought was the idea here. And if you want, you can pause the video and try to find the move I played in the game. But I kind of saw it from afar. I mean, from afar when I was considering the capture on f6 here. I saw that this idea of knight h6, king g7, knight f5, ef5 is pretty good for me, because I also play knight d5. I have pressure against this diagonal. I'm threatening knight e7 currently. This king is very weak. These pawns are doubled, so I have only 3 pawns for the piece. And I have an ongoing initiative. My pieces are better. Rook c1 will come with tempo, and I'm completely winning. Now, even though I knew objectively that I should play this and that this is good for me, I was still very nervous because I was sacrificing a piece against an overrated player. And it's always, somewhere on your mind, at least it was on my mind, which is a weakness, that, I was contemplating, I'm down, I need to regain it. And we will see this is what caused an error on my part very soon. So for the moment, everything is fine for white. The computer gives a massive advantage to white, like +6, 7, like it's totally winning for white due to all better pieces, weaker king, and so on. My opponent played bishop d8, which is sensible. It's a good defensive move, trying to activate the bishop and avoiding any sort of discoveries or very good discoveries. I played rook c1, queen d7, and here I made a very big mistake. I played knight to b6. So I should never do that. I should probably play something like either e4 to try to open up the position. Maybe I can even go back with knight e3, and then I was not sure about f4, but after bishop e8 or even gf4, white is totally winning. And there are even other solutions, like knight c7 is possible, queen d2 is possible, anything but what I did, because after knight b6, bishop b6, now what I have done, bishop a8, I have regained some of my material, but I have activated these bishops. I'm losing the d4 pawn, and things are not so like one-sided as they were just a moment ago. I have allowed some counterplay. Mind you, white is still winning, but it's not so simple. It can slowly start sweeping away. And here my opponent played bishop d4. and I wasn't sure how to continue here. I played e3, which I guess is not too bad. You can maybe do something else like rook c2, f4, and rook d2. I was actually considering this line as well, trying to defend the b2 pawn, but at the critical moment, rook d8, after e3, I saw this line f3, f3, bishop e3 winning for black, but I also thought rook e3 is playable, but I was like, why would I do that? But this is totally winning for white because this pin is too strong. I just failed to appreciate it. So that's probably better than giving up the b2 pawn. I played e3, bishop b2, rook c2. And here he played bishop to e5, and once again I started getting more and more nervous because I knew that the position is good for me, but I just didn't see anything immediate. And yeah, like that's a weakness of mine. I kind of, when playing against overrated opponents, I get impatient and I wanna win quickly and stop the torture or whatever. So yeah, as you can see, there are many psychological issues following me throughout this game. So I played rook c5, which is probably a bad move. But which loses advantage. I was contemplating the endgame after queen d7, which is relatively safe for me, but it's hard to say how winning it is. I was also contemplating a queen move like queen f3. The computer says queen h5 is powerful, with the idea of going to g5 and preparing rook to d1. This is apparently the best move, but it's already not so obvious and simple to it's not the most intuitive move to allow rook h8 with tempo or attack f5, which is kind of well defended and so on. So I went rook c5 because I totally missed the move queen to e7. And here, at first glance, I thought I'm just wandering because there are many tricks. Like I have to be very careful about not losing some of the exchanges because all these bishops are very powerful, and I also need to be worried about knight d7 and this bishop on a8. So I spent around 15 minutes here, my longest thing of the game, because I realized I'm actually in the danger. I thought initially that I would play queen d5, knight d7, rook f5, but here then I noticed some queen a5 stuff, and okay, this is I don't like that. The engine gives that is so equal after rook a6, queen e1, but that's clearly not what I wanted. There are also other problems, like for example rook d5, bishop c4, or I don't know, like queen c2, knight d7, rook a5, queen b4, stuff like that. So I saw some of these lines, I saw that my pieces are kinda in mid-air, and I got really nervous. So after a long thing, I did manage to find a good move. I played rook a5, and this is actually the best move by the engine, and the only move that preserves the advantage. The point here is that if bishop c3, you take on f5 now, and if bishop e1, you have queen to g4, and your black is getting mated, which is a very important line. And I also saw that rook d8, queen g4, king f8 is kind of playable, and here white can do whatever they want. Rook c1 or even rook g5 with the mating threat are very strong. So my opponent played rook to d8, and I played rook to d5. I didn't even consider anything else, even though queen h5 is once again maybe playable. Rook d5, he played rook h8, which was very surprising to me. I thought that rook d5, queen d5 would be, it would be a better try because they're exchanging some pieces. The bishop are still kinda active, but okay, this is I think where the experience of my opponent told, because I guess he was following the principle don't exchange pieces when you are material down, but it's not always the greatest principle, and there is not much for rook to do on h8. There will not be any chances. So here I played queen to c2, attacking the f5 pawn and just activating the piece a little bit. He played knight to d7. I considered some stuff here like rook h2, rook e5, but I didn't. I've also thought queen e6, rook a d1 is pretty good for me because now this knight can't move. Bishop c8 is a move that escaped my attention, honestly. The bishop is rerouting from the diagonal where it's kind of doing, when it's kind of active, but it's not actually hitting anything with these squares. It is planning to go to e6, where it will kind of hold these pawns like glue and be active on this diagonal. White is still better here, but it's not straightforward. But after knight d7, queen f5, it is virtually almost all over. Knight f6 is now impossible because rook e5. So he took on a8, I took on d7, and here he played queen f6. And here once again I played a very bad move because of my willingness not to risk it, to play as safely as possible, to keep things under control. I went for the queen exchange. it is clear that my king is much safer and the black's king is in danger, and that should keep the queens with queen g4. But yeah, once again, I was so nervous. It's hard to describe. I just wanted, you know, to keep it as safe as possible, and this is the wrong approach because that often relinquishes a big part of your advantage. Because after queen f6, okay, he went king f6 in the game and lost quickly. But bishop f6 is actually quite resistant because it's not easy for white to break through. So if I play rook c1 with the obvious idea of doubling here or on the 7th rank, then they play bishop c8. And yeah, the bishop will go to e6 again, and it's not easy. Like, I think the best maybe even attempt is rook c8, rook c8, rook a7, and then play this endgame with 4 pawns for the piece. But it should be equal. Even similarly, rook d7, bishop h3, it's quite equal. The bishop is active, and it's very hard for me to start pushing my pawns because the two bishops are quite powerful, and I also can't so easily double on the 7th rank. So yeah, this was, you know, I failed to appreciate it. I thought the endgame would be better, but yeah, this is once again the unwillingness to take risks and to calculate precisely, but being guided by your emotions often leads to wrong decisions of the board. Fortunately, after king f6, I have this move f4, and now the problem is that this bishop has to go somewhere passive because of rook d6. For example, if you play rook c3, I have rook d6 at some point, or first rook c1, and then eventually I will get this rook d6 and pick up the bishop. So the whole construction with king with f6 disturbs black's coordination. In the game, king e6 was played, I played rook e d1, and after bishop e2, I played f e5. Okay, I don't know why I didn't play rook e1 to d2. I forgot that bishop b5, I have rook 7 d5. But in any case, after I took on e5, my opponent resigned because objectively bishop d1, rook to d1 is just totally one endgame for me with the 2 extra pawns. Okay, for the moment 3 extra pawns, but black is going to get one on e5. It was a nice way to bounce back from a loss. I don't think this was by any means such a bad game, but yeah, this middle sequence where I was totally winning and then I just gave up all my advantage, it's really a bad sign. This time I got away with it, but in some future games against overrated opponents, and not only against overrated opponents, it might end up costing me. So I really should try to force myself to think and to play the position and not to think about rating and opponents during the game. Despite all the nervousness and struggles with myself, I managed to win this game and get back to +1 after 5 rounds in the Groningen Open, which was quite a good score given the opposition so far, and I was also winning quite some rating. We will continue the coverage of this tournament in one of the next videos. There are still 4 games to go. In the meantime, if you like this video, feel free to subscribe and share it with friends. Also feel free to check some of the other content of the channel. I would really appreciate it if you do. And what can I say? See you in some of the other videos. Thanks for watching and bye bye.